I'm back. Let's go. Kind of tired. More than kind of. I'm very tired. But I will not let that stop me from creating content. That shit is way too fun for me to stop. This stuff a little bit. There we go. Okay. Let me check. Has there been an update to Retro Rewind? Server maintenance? Nope. Seems pretty good to me. Let's go launch the game. Somebody in the Discord, I believe 1v3 mentioned some stuff relating to Germany and the far right party, the AfD. But I don't know. I can't really immediately think of what to look for a news article like that. We'll see. If they show up, I'll ask if they can provide a link and take it from there. But there is other stuff that I do have a link for, or that I do have links for, plural, that I will be sure to talk about. Let's set this 2. That wasn't right. For a second, it got set to 20. You might have heard a little spike there. That's my B. My apologerinos. Okay. I'm gonna try my luck with Heracross on the Flame Runner. Just to see what's up. Because I do like Heracross. I could also I'll talk a little bit about the RFK Jr. thing, him dropping out, which is incredibly funny because I don't think it went the way he would have wanted it to. That's the most important part for me. Oh, this room not it's not quite starting. I might be having ping issues again. I'm not entirely sure. You know, if worse comes to worse, I can at some point get Retro Rewind on Dolphin and start playing it there. I just don't know if I'm gonna have controller issues or what's up with that. We'll see. It also might be a pain in the ass to get all those custom textures working on Dolphin. Although who knows? Maybe it'll be less of a pain in the ass than with the Wii U. All right, we got some people. We got a full room actually. Let's go. Random. Random course. I think there's some subtle differences between how the Mach Bike and the Flame Runner control. And most of it comes down to, I think, with the Flame Runner, you're a little bit less maneuverable on the fly, and you have to start your drifts a tiny bit earlier than with the Mach Bike. And obviously you have to drift them a little bit tighter to get the same kind of drift arc with the Mach Bike that you do with the Mach Bike. So, that's what's up. Moonview Highway. Decent first track, I think, for me to test this out. Let's see. See, like there, I got stuck in my wheelie, almost didn't have time to evade that car, and as a result, I went off the jump at an awkward angle and hit the other car, the truck, rather, which is unfortunate. Almost got hit by that. I'm telling you, this is a lot scarier than usual. Mock bike is just so much more maneuverable. This is a perfect spot to use the star, because I can just drive through here with impunity. Okay. This is one of those tracks where as long as I don't hit anything, I should get a pretty good result. What's up, Daisy? I'm gonna get out of your way here, if I can. Okay, yeah. Now my custom music is playing? I don't know why it wasn't playing for the first 2 laps, but okay. Oh, I got him. Second place, it seems like. Good. Good first race. Yeah. Alright. I guess I can start talking about RFK Jr. dropping out and endorsing Trump. For those of you not familiar, RFK Jr. was running in the Democratic primary as a Democrat, but then after a while switched to running as an independent. From the get-go, RFK Jr. was a pretty obvious plant by the Republicans in the Democratic Party to draw votes away from Joe Biden. And the reason that it was so obvious is because it was so poorly executed. RFK Jr., his entire political identity revolves around conspiracies regarding, I don't know, the media, the Jews, and especially COVID. You know, he cannot shut up about COVID conspiracy theories. I've talked about his candidacy before, and that it was actually kind of beneficial for him to stay in the race because he drew a right-wing conspiracy crank kind of crowd that would have otherwise been potentially voting for Trump. And now he's dropped out and endorsed Donald Trump to try to, well, help Donald Trump win. But here's the thing. Kamala Harris is now the nominee for the Democratic Party. Even, you know, even with a joint RFK Trump sort of coalition of support, you know, voter base, it's not going to be enough, I think, to catch up to the Democratic Party this campaigning cycle. And his concession speech, you know, the speech that he made where he dropped out, was also, like, absolutely off the rails. You know, RFK Jr. Basically spent, like, an hour talking about COVID conspiracies and, like, the media unfairly representing him and whatever else, right? And then spent maybe a couple minutes saying, oh, and, you know, President Trump shares my values, so I'm endorsing him for president or whatever. Like, pretty wild. And in fact, it actually, I think, he went so crazy with it in the press conference that it actually kind of sabotaged whatever base of support he could have drawn, even in part, for Donald Trump this cycle, right? Like, like there was a lot of talking points, very incongruous and all over the place talking points about COVID conspiracies, about the media, about Russia and Ukraine and whatever, to such an extent that it was really kind of like, who is this for? You know, like, I'm hard pressed to think of a demographic that would really be taken in by any of this rhetoric who wasn't already supporting Trump, right? Like for the prospective fence sitters and whatever, talking about COVID conspiracies and praising Vladimir Putin sounds absolutely insane. You know, even a lot of conservatives in America, ideologically similar to Putin though they may be, do not like Vladimir Putin, you know? So it was kind of like the funniest timeline was realized, where RFK Jr. is an obvious Republican plant, and then he drops out to support Trump, but it doesn't end up mattering. I think I got first because of that lag start at the beginning. Turn this down again. There we go. Yeah. It was all altogether just an absolutely wild, wild occasion. You know? And you know what it did? It didn't help with the, it fed further into the Republicans are huge fucking weirdos narrative, because now RFK Jr. is going to have his campaign associated with Donald Trump more than he had been in the past. And, like, yeah, he's a fucking weirdo. A lot of his campaign, you know, are composed of weirdos. And like, that's not doing them any favors. And, you know, it is very funny. Let's see where there's news on this. CBS, maybe? Nothing I can immediately see from that right now. So, you know, all the power to RFK Jr. for even in the consolidation phase where he tries to fold into the Republican Party and coalesce with them to build support, for still somehow sabotaging the Republican base of support by, like, being so crazy that you turn off anybody. Oh shit, I'm really lagging. Who potentially would have been on the fence. Shit, Toad's on a cart. Let's fucking go, Toad. Not quite. That would have been a very content snipe. But, you know, maybe not, maybe not. Dang. I was so focused on the content snipe that I missed the pow dodge. Hee. Oh well. I wonder how much is there really for me to say about RFK that hasn't already been said. You know, the man's a lunatic. And, you know, a lunatic running for president with a lunatic political platform is going to draw lunatics. What is he crazy about? COVID conspiracies, you know, something, deep state media censorship. And he's also a eugenicist. That's notable. He talked about fucking chronic disease, which also links to COVID. But, you know, just as a cherry on top, he referred to chronic diseases as something that includes autism, ADHD, whatever, and invoked the pretty not frequent, pretty otherwise infrequent, like, far-right talking point that, instances of depression, ADHD, and, you know, Tourette syndrome are much higher now than 70 years ago. I wonder why. You know, the underlying position there, or the implied position being anybody who has any sort of condition or disorder or whatever, should be put in a straitjacket, or should be, wrapped on the hands with a ruler, sort of abusive 1950s style. You know? Again, nothing he really said in that speech, I feel, is doing him any favors with people who would have been, like, undecided, or like, that he would be looking to sap to support Trump instead of Kamala Harris at this point. You know, again, I think that was a massive failure on the part of the Republicans, because the Republicans are so insane that they have completely lost the plot and no longer know what what being not insane by comparison looks like, you know? I'm gonna use this here. There's a lot of cars in this section. Yeah, that's good. Okay. I'll take that, sure. That's not gonna hit him, but... Wait, what happened there? All my bananas disappeared. Oh, shit. That was a very close call. Okay, third place. I think I raced that pretty well. Yeah. Oh, yeah, outside of the campaign trail, RFK Jr. has also done so much insane stuff that he's probably a massive liability even to the Trump campaign, which is hard to achieve, but, you know, my man finds a way. You know, like him having put that bear cub in Central Park, like the fucking dead bear cub that he dumped in Central Park, like more than 10 years ago. That was the thing RFK Jr. Did. But I guess I'll harp on some of the... I'll just one more time harp on some of the things I said in my last segment about RFK Jr. The one where I covered TYT sort of grifting to the right by endorsing RFK Jr., which is that, you know, RFK Jr. was a pretty transparent grifter from the get-go, trying to just use his name recognition to coast by in the campaign trail and ultimately draw support away from a Democratic voter base to help Donald Trump. You know, I was able to tell, as well as many others even at the time, that he was a plant from the Republican Party, but irrespective of whether or not that was the case, the plan for him to draw support from the Democrats and give support to Trump clearly was not working, because he was such a open conspiracy crank that he only drew from a conspiracy crank audience, which leans very right-wing. You know, maybe you'd get some Libertarian Party people in there, but mostly, you know, they'd be Republicans, you know? So the sort of spoiler effect, which is a very real thing in two-party systems, where candidates from minor factions or minor parties draw support away from more major candidates, it worked in the opposite direction that they wanted it to. What they wanted was for RFK Jr. to be a somewhat comparable candidate, ideologically speaking, to Joe Biden, so that they could draw support from the Biden coalition. But instead, he ended up being ideologically similar enough to Donald Trump that he's instead drawing disproportionately from a right-wing base of support, making the spoiler effect work in our favor. I know a lot of people, you know, throw shade at the concept of the spoiler effect, but I feel like that comes from a place of bias, of it mostly being used against the left. In this case, this works to our favor. Or worked past us, and potentially still is, because RFK Jr., a sort of nagging small external part of the right-wing campaign and propaganda machine, is so insane that he couldn't even give a normal "I'm suspending my campaign" type of speech. He had to go into a crazed conspiracy rant about COVID-19, Russia, eugenics, and all different manner of things. And then only very briefly mention, yeah, also I'm supporting Trump. Like, this doesn't appeal to anybody outside of the existing base of support. And in fact, for anybody undecided, that rhetoric is likely to turn people off. Some people might have more conspiratorial sensibilities than others, but you mentioned anti-vax politics. You mentioned Putin in a positive light, which RFK Jr. did a few times. And, like, you've instantly lost the average American. Like, people are stupid, but they're not so stupid that they don't understand what a fucking vaccine does, right? Like, people aren't so stupid that they don't get, like, yeah, vaccines inoculate you against a disease, and that's why diseases don't spread like fucking wildfire in developed countries. And, you know, also the majority of Americans will be able to recognize very easily, like, yeah, you know, Putin, pretty bad guy, you know, not gonna lie. So, you know, shoutouts to the spoiler effect, linking these two right-wing candidates together in a way that's actually pretty beneficial to the Democratic ticket. I will get to there are some segments that I want to do after this one where I have some critiques to make of the Democratic Party. You know, which obviously they deserve plenty of critique as well, because they're only the left most viable option. They're not like a leftist party or anything like that. But, like, this can only be good for us. Like, RFK Jr. dropping out in the way that he did, you know, extremely funny. And I think I'll end it there. Getting Mario Karted. I'm glad to be getting Mario Karted at the end of lap 2 as opposed to on lap 3. You know, I think that's generally preferable. Glad I used that there. Would rather not run the risk of getting bulleted. Yeah. Okay. Good stuff. Let me write down that thing. Let's see. There we go. Okay. Now I want to cover something also funny. This is a funny politics day. Even though this is going to be a little bit shorter of a stream than usual, because I am extremely fucking tired after doing 2, like, almost 5-hour-long live streams back-to-back, like, back-to-back days. Even though I took a break on Friday. Look, it's time for funny politics is what I'm getting at. Here we have a Reuters article. Turkish MPs brawl during debate on jailed opposition lawmaker. Now, this is both serious and funny at the same time. You know, Parliament brawl's extremely funny. You know, I have been quoted as saying before, or rather, I have myself said, and I intend to be quoted as such, that, you know, a good Parliament brawl never hurt anybody. But yeah, we have a Parliament brawl, which is very funny, over a political issue which is very serious, being the treatment of political opposition in Turkey. You know, Erdogan, not known for his love of democracy or anything of the sort, you know, definitely has a very authoritarian streak over there, especially with regards to Kurdish grassroots political movements and campaigns and organizers and that sort of thing. It's not good. But I'm not super well versed on Turkish politics, so maybe after a little bit, I will take a look at what that article has to say. Oh wow, I got the double trick. Ooh. You have to turn super tight with the Flame Runner to get that. Dang. Make sure that didn't get hit by any of his red shells. Go on the inside here. Give me that box. Thank you. Oh no! Ah, crashed. Press A to exit. Yeah, thanks. Jeez. I wonder what makes that happen. Anywho, now's an opportunity for me to start reading that article. Ankara, August 16th. Okay, so this is from a week ago and change. A fistfight broke out in Turkey's parliament on Friday when an opposition deputy was attacked after calling for his colleague, jailed on charges of organizing anti-government protests, but since elected an MP, to be admitted to the assembly. Video footage showed MPs for the ruling AKP party rushing in to punch Ahmet Sik at the lectern and dozens more joining a melee, some trying to hold others back. Blood splattered on the white steps of the speaker's podium. Love my political violence, folks. Except I don't. That's a joke. It's, you know, it's fucked up. Especially when it is the governing party trying to use said like almost street level political violence, you know, just a brawl in parliament to prevent the political opposition from gaining an elected seat. You know, the opposition party in Turkey is like what? It's like a labor kind of oriented party. And, you know, it's not like this guy was jailed for any ethically legitimate reason. He was jailed for organizing a protest, you know. Like I said, Turkey, not the most democratic country. Kind of sucks that is the way it is. We continue with Wario, or rather, Heracross. Yeah. Lawmakers punched other lawmakers, even women. This is unacceptable. CHP leader Özgür Özel told reporters. Pro-Kurdish DEM party chairwoman Gulistan Kosicit. Somebody who's Turkish can let me know if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but either way, I will proceed. Who was also punched, said the ruling party was trying to silence the opposition by using violence. Pretty straightforwardly what's happening. And there's not that much else that Reuters is saying on the matter. But, you know, where do I go with this? I don't know. Sometimes articles like this, American news articles on foreign affairs, don't leave a whole lot of room for foreign analysis because of either how dry they are or how narrativized they are. In this case, it's kind of dry and short, which is good because it leaves me open to some things. I guess I can go down the angle of Turkey's pretty fucking racist, like pretty racist country. Um, you know, not to say that every Turk is a racist, you know, but like just that there's such a political acceptance in the ruling parties and whatever the business class of racism against minorities to such an extent that when somebody that represents a minority party is in parliament, you just hit them, just punch them, and especially when it's like the affiliation with a given minority on its own is enough to justify like arresting somebody. That's not like directly related necessarily to the opposition party organizing a protest, but it is the case that a lot of you know, Kurdish activism in Turkey and a lot of the opposition protests in Turkey, you know, opposition political activity and activism, they have some overlap, and the Turkish government is that much more vigilant against the opposition because sometimes that coalition includes Kurdish minorities. You know, it's you know, it's your typical kind of Balkan ethno nationalism, I want to say, you know, where every Balkan country hates each other. This time just with the Turkish government really hating Kurdish minorities and hating the opposition for, like, I don't know, sometimes working with Kurdish minorities, something like that. Ultimately, you know, there's kind of a weird inverse relationship here that makes it a little bit difficult for me to comment on. Kind of like with assassinations, where sometimes the most spectacular things in politics, like a brawl or an assassination attempt, have the least ability for me to comment on them. Although this is definitely indicative of some very, very ongoing underlying tension, or just like this is indicative of a lot of very ever-present political tension in Turkey between the ruling, like, ultra-nationalist party of Erdogan and the opposition party, which is a sort of liberal to socialist, social democratic coalition, and the Kurdish minorities in the east. You know? All right. I wonder where I should use. Oh, I think I know where I want to use this, and it's like at the end of the lap. I'm not the mock bike. I can't make that. No. At least I get big quickly. Use this here. All right. So far, so good, I suppose. I almost don't even know where I would use this last mushroom. Maybe I could chain it? I think I'll chain it. There we go. And I got another mushroom, which I, again, don't really know where I would use it. Sorry. Okay. I guess I can chain this, too. There we go. That's something that I can comfortably hold on to. And second place, it looks like. Nice. No, what? Third? I must be really lagging. Oh, wait, there's more to this article? No, there isn't. Okay, okay. That was just a bit that I hadn't... My eyes kind of glazed over that. It's more of the same. Might be. So, unfortunate set of political circumstances that led to a parliament brawl breaking out in Turkey, but the fact that a parliament brawl broke out is funny. I just regret that it isn't the kind of parliament brawl that involved like everybody in the parliament. You know, it was mostly targeted at one or two people, it seems, which is cringe. Usually, you know, I prefer my parliament brawls to be very egalitarian. Thank you. I want all the politicians to be fighting each other. No, I fucked up the double. I was kind of close. I just wasn't going slow enough at the initial outset. That's why I do the single shortcut every time. For the most part. Use me, sir. Start using this here. Methinks. And I'm just gonna do... Yep. There we go. Just gonna do the single shortcut. No! Bad angle for that. What? Again? Oh, man. It's rough out there sometimes. I didn't get an item from that? Dang. I need to start using this here. I'm falling way too far behind. And I just need to catch up a little bit so I can get another item and be close enough to the pack to make good use of it. Like this. There we go. That's good. And unlike last time, I will actually make it. I will not fall off. And, you know, unlike first lap, only going for the single. What? Dang. Goofy, race ending. I honestly think that it was being on the Flame Runner that did me in for basically the whole race. And being too ambitious and going for the double on lap 1. I shouldn't be going for the double on Worldwides. And nor should anybody else. Because that's like... it's a very risky thing. Unless you have practiced it so many times. It's one of the few things that, like... It's one of those flaws that a lot of CTGP tracks have that's also present in a Nintendo track. Shroomless Shortcut, that's more so a technical execution test. And you know, it's shroomless, so the pressure's on to do it every lap, and it's a pretty big shortcut, too. You know, the single shortcut is at the very least super easy. you know, you could do that shit on a cart, no problem. You can do that shit on cart, on automatic drift, whatever. The margins of error for the single shortcut are very wide. The double shortcut, not a big margin of error there. You're trying to hit a very small target. Anyways. There were some things that I wanted to react to that were speeches at the DNC, but because I'm making this kind of a shorter stream, I think I will do those next time. There's some like big react segments that I have lined up. First, I want to react to the speeches that happened on day 1 at the DNC to explain some of the optimism I have for the future of American politics and why I ultimately do believe that we're gonna get socialism in the United States in my lifetime. So that'll be nice. And you know what that means. And then after I review those speeches, probably on the stream after, I want to do kind of an addendum to the DNC where I go over, like, kind of maybe take a look back at, like, big picture, how did it go, and like, what were some of the biggest critiques that I had? Because ultimately, like, I'm only, like, interested in the Democratic Party as a tool of convenience, and in the fact that they're substantially less evil than the Republicans. You know, they're still not our allies. Remember what I said about, like, picking your opposition and stuff. So then those will be probably the next 2 streams, what I end up doing. And then after I do that, actually, so 3 streams out, I might get to thinking about, at the very least, if not doing, the segment that I had thought about where Destiny debated Dennis Prager. I thought that would be interesting to take a look at. I'm in first somehow. Okay. Nice, got the good angle there. No. And got first on Maple Treeway. Track I don't really like, but I do know how to race it. Maple Treeway suffers from, like, not having any shortcuts. Except for the one at the beginning. And that doesn't even save a ton of time. Second. Okay. I don't know what's going on, but I was ahead by, like, a country mile on my screen. Oh well. Look, I raced it pretty well regardless. Which is good. Oh yeah, there is one thing that I intend to mention that was related to the DNC. I will bring it up again when I do more DNC related stuff, like reviewing speeches and sort of bringing in critiques as to what was happening there. This was there were a bunch of protesters, pro-Palestine protesters at the DNC. This was like the uncommitted movement. You know, peaceful protest movement dedicated to advocating for a ceasefire and an arms embargo critically, all sorts of divestment and stuff from Israel to try to basically take the pressure off of Palestine so that Israel stops bombing them, you know? And so that Palestinians might not eternally be fated to just die at the age of, like, 3. Maybe. So they were protesting outside the DNC. Regrettably, they didn't even get a speaker. Like, the DNC didn't let anybody from the uncommitted movement speak on stage. But they were outside the whole time, regardless. And there were some DNC goers who, walked past them, and a lot of them, like, fucking disgusting people, by the way. They're, like, plugging their ears saying la 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 as the uncommitted people were naming not just the names of dead Palestinian kids, but dead Palestinian American kids. And, dead Americans among the list of those killed. And, people putting their hands in their ears going la 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 la. And then one person, caught on film, or on camera rather, on film, mocking the protesters for calling out the names of all the people killed in Gaza. Which, I think speaks to the unwillingness of the Democratic Party at an internal level, and that sort of thing, to embrace a pro-Palestinian cause. Because I assure you, as disgusting as that behavior is by the DNC goers, this is not representative of what the majority of Americans think. The majority of Americans are somewhat critical of Israel, at least to the degree that, like, yeah, Israel's been doing some pretty fucked up stuff in the Gaza Strip. In fact, I think a majority of Americans view what's going on in the Gaza Strip as a genocide, which is pretty correct. That is, in fact, what a genocide looks like. And it's like, it's a no-brainer for Democrats to sort of embrace this kind of more pro-Palestine movement. But because they're still Zionists due to, I don't fucking know, historical inertia at this point, or whatever else it is, they don't really care for it. And they decided to snub the opportunity to have a pro-Palestinian speaker on stage, avowedly pro-Palestinian, despite how like accommodating, conciliatory, and reasonable the uncommitted movement people were being about, like, look, here are some of the details of what we can speak about. You don't have to worry about us saying this, or this. We just want to advocate for this and this other thing. Mostly regarding bringing the hostages home, condemning the October 7th attacks, advocating for an arms embargo because Israel has been acting monstrously. And, the response from the DNC was basically, no, fuck you, also let's mock the dead Palestinian kids. Like, great, thank you. And by the way, this issue is not going to be infinite. There is going to be a point when either the genocide is finished, let's fucking hope that doesn't happen, or when Israel stops committing that genocide, and the dust is going to clear, and the international human rights orgs are going to come in and be able to survey the damage, and all of these liberals who were mocking pro-Palestinian protesters will suddenly change their tune. Never fucking let them forget that they were like this. All the people that are at the DNC that are sort of optics frogging right now, all of the people that are like, well, I don't think this is really beneficial to our coalition. Well, is it really a genocide? All of those people are going to pretend that they were on board the whole time once all is said and done. Because we know exactly what the human rights orgs are going to find if they ever get allowed into Gaza to, collect data, survey damage, to rebuild in any appreciable capacity. They're going to find that hundreds of thousands of people have been killed. In fact, we already can reasonably say that at least 200,000 to 300,000 people have died, according to what estimates by the Lancet, I think. And we should all remember that the Democratic Party stood in the way of ending this genocide rather than getting on board, or at the very best of times, dragged their feet. Also, poor bastard drove off the stage, doesn't realize that's not a thing you can drive on. When you get in here, you're just spitting truth-spilling facts. Yeah. I wanted to talk about that a little bit because I saw a video on social media. Initially, I was thought like, maybe the Democratic Party might change their tune on Israel-Palestine. The Democrats have certainly embraced unions. It would only stand to reason then that maybe they embrace the uncommitted movement or whatever, the pro-Palestinian movement. But no, they are, the Democratic Party, which is not to say most, people who vote for the Democratic Party, but the Democratic Party is as disgustingly Zionist as they've ever been, and, even they're not as bad as the Republicans, but, let's be real here, the Republicans aren't really in contention for office at this point. The object of the discourse right now is the Democratic Party. And, I was just making the point that, eventually the dust is going to settle. This can't continue forever, and it's not going to continue forever. Whether it be, God forbid, the genocide finishes and, Netanyahu actually kills all the Palestinians, or whether it be that, Israel finally stops bombing Gaza, the Democrats and the liberals are going to change their tune. Never let them forget. They did the same thing on every other, mass movement in history. Liberals, historically, as long as there has been a liberal system under which we live, liberals have opposed civil rights movements. Liberals in the United States opposed the civil rights movements of the 60s. They opposed the anti-war movement of the 70s. They opposed the protests against the Gulf War in the night. Well, actually, they didn't oppose that because it was a Republican president doing it, and the post 9/11 fervor wasn't in the air. That's the one W that they get. They opposed the anti-war movement in the early 2000s, and a lot of them still oppose the pro-Palestine movement right now. 20 years from now, they're going to pretend they were all on board, but we can't let them forget that they were just as stupid as all the rest. That's so disgusting. That's the course of history. And yeah, it is disgusting. And this is the fucking political party that we have to work with. We don't all want to die, which puts a bad taste in my mouth, puts a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, but It's like we're handed these two options. One of them is the Republican Party, in which case we will get both a guaranteed genocide in Palestine and also a genocide at home against queer people, trans people, etc. Or we could get the Democratic Party, who are perfectly content to do nothing about the genocide in Palestine, but could potentially be pushed on it. Those are the options, and that's electoral politics. It helps, though. It helps that a lot of unions have been calling for a ceasefire, have been calling for divestment from Israel, have been way, way out ahead of the Democratic Party on this issue. And some of these unions were at the DNC, so there is some potential opportunity for internal pressure to be applied there. Or for some just, political pressure generally to be applied there. Like, hey, look, if you want consistent support from us and our members, you gotta shape up on this issue. What's DNC? Democratic National Convention. The DNC happened recently. In the United States, each political party has a convention where they have delegations come from all over the country to officially nominate their political candidate for office. That's the Democratic National Convention. They have a bunch of speeches there, and it's generally what it is. It's supposed to generate, it's supposed to kind of generate political excitement and to sort of advertise the political platform of the party, right? So what they choose to include there or disclude is very important because it signals what they are or aren't willing to support. And the DNC this year, the Democratic National Convention, was very willing to include unions, thankfully. You know, a lot of unions, some of them with a lot of openly and avowed socialists as their member, or maybe not openly avowed, but like very socialist-leaning members and leadership were there. But the DNC was extremely stubborn on the issue of Israel-Palestine. They allowed one of the families of the hostages to speak, but they kept the issue vague enough that they could continue to go to their line that this is all Hamas's fault and we have to stand with Israel, blah, blah. And they were very stalwart on not allowing any pro-Palestinian activists to speak at the event. You know? So that's what I was commenting on about the DNC. You know, because otherwise, the Democrats held a pretty well-organized and politically effective convention. They were able to generate a lot of political excitement with their platform. They were able to sort of advertise themselves, and it was clear that union politics and the politics of the working class were coming back. But it was still very clear that the Democratic Party of old, however much progressives had made advances, was still trying to reassert itself by, you know, shutting out the pro-Palestine movement, by insisting on having a lot of speakers that would only refer to the middle class, would only refer to small business owners, would only refer to stuff like that. You know, they tried to play both sides of it. You know, I think it was an interesting window into what politics in America is going to be like the next few years, especially because it is extremely unlikely that the Republicans are going to win the election. And, you know, I watched the DNC live. I streamed the last 2 days of it, but I had been watching the DNC over the course of the week. It took place over 4 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and they held it in Chicago. You know, so all the news cameras were there. There was a bunch of people in the crowd and you know, speakers on stage, stuff like that. In fact, I actually don't know if Europe has an equivalent to that. If, like, European countries have an equivalent to, like, this, to these sort of grandiose party conventions. Partially because a lot of the DNC is centered around personality. You know, we don't have a like, proportional representation system. It's first past the post. So the focus is very much on candidates rather than parties. I don't know. But anyways, that's not even going to be a segment on its own, because I intend for that to be like a separate stream where I go through the where I sort of go through some of the speeches from the earlier days of the DNC that I wanted to comment on, and then talk about, like, the critiques I have of the convention. Tina baby, we don't have that. We just have corrupt political groups that oppose each other but band together to fuck us up. Oh, so then you're familiar with the game. You're familiar with how politics works. You know? That's just bourgeois democracy, baby. That's liberal democracy, where you have a bunch of, you know, political parties that have, you know, somewhat different platforms from each other, but all of them are ultimately parties of big business and small business too. But, you know, business all the same. You don't often have a party of the workers, and if you do, it's like it turns into either Canadian Labour Party or like UK Labour Party, where it just becomes captured by those interests over time, and then just becomes another party of big business. This time, it just says it's a party of the workers. No, I'm too ambitious with that shortcut. Okay. Nice. Here in Peru, all of our ex-presidents are being investigated for corruption. Even our current president is being investigated for, I don't know the word, illegal enrichment. Yeah, that sounds about right. It's like using the office to make themselves richer. I think enrichment is a direct, like, word for that, but I think it is called something else. I don't know. Either way, yeah. I get what you're saying. In the United States, things are stable enough that you don't have so much corruption that it's actually considered corruption. We just call corruption something else, because, like, corruption is an inherent part of well, most political systems that currently exist, because what do you think of when you think of corruption? You think, big business or whatever, some really rich fucks buying off politicians to get them to do what they want and to screw over working people ultimately. And that sort of defines politics. That's how we think of corruption. That's an inherent part of the capitalist system, is that big businesses use their money either directly or indirectly to get politicians to do what they want. And that involves screwing over the workers. It's just in a lot of Western countries, they have that still. They've just given it some legal channels. They don't call it corruption. They call it something else, basically. Yeah, everybody knows our country is controlled by 4 or 5 rich families. Yeah, and kind of a similar deal with like the U.S. Instead of 4 or 5 rich families, it's like a small in crowd of like billionaires, millionaires, business people, and all the rest. Did they mess up the shortcut? Interesting. Love this mod, by the way. I really like it. I like that I can just play as Heracross in my favorite Mario Kart game. Because ordinarily, it's like, I put the mods over characters that I don't really like to play as otherwise, So, like, I don't play as Wario that much. So I was like, let's change him to something else. That way I might play as him. Same with, like, what, Dry Bowser, I think? Dry Bowser for me is Dragonite. I am so far in the lead right now. Let's see. Right, that's cute. Also, love the music. Thank you. This is my own custom music and texture pack. When I was quite a bit younger, I was really interested in custom textures and stuff like that, and custom music. And there were a couple. I think my introduction to it was TWD98. He had a while ago, back in 2012, 2013, I think he posted this. He had a custom music pack. And I downloaded that. I had a lot of fun with it. And then over time, I started to think about, like, what if I made my own? Because I'd been getting custom music packs from a couple places, but I was like, I want to be able to choose the music, because I have some ideas for the music for each track. And so I learned how to replace the individual songs, and that culminated in me learning also how to replace individual textures. And so now I have my own entirely custom track, or not custom track, entirely custom texture and music pack. And on vanilla Mario Kart, I think I also have some night-themed textures for certain tracks, which I like, but I don't think they work with Retro Rewind, unfortunately. That's amazing. Well, thank you. It's just it's a cute little personal story that I like to share from time to time. Because, you know, people come to my Mario Kart stream and see like, oh shit, that's Heracross. In fact, Heracross isn't the only Pokemon that... Heracross and Dragonite are not the only Pokemon that I have for reskins either. I also put Ampharos over Birdo. Big fan of Ampharos. One of the most overused Pokemon I've ever seen, especially in Let's Plays. Ampharos is love. It is big lovable goof. I've seen a ton of Pokemon Let's Plays that always use Ampharos, and it's one of the few Pokemon that has that association that I will never get like tired of seeing on people's teams. I had 2 dogs named Fluffy and Marie. Oh, that's so cute. I like this version of Cheeseland, and I like how well it's been ported into Mario Kart Wii also. Watch, I'm gonna play second place as though I'm playing first. Well, I'm gonna be playing first in a sec because you know that blue shell, but yeah. Nice. Very good lap. I'm building kind of a lead here. A little bit. But there have been quite a few blue shells this race, so I do need to be concerned about that. I see. $10 says I get Mario Kart? Or maybe not. Okay, yeah. There we go. There it is. There it is. Yes. Of course. Had to have the gratuitous hit me with a star for no reason at the end. Just cuz. It happens. That's Mario Kart? Yeah. You know what's funny is that half of the reason that I get Mario Karted is because people go for me specifically. They see I just got hit, they hit me again, whatever. Getting Mario Karted, as much as it is a natural phenomenon in the game, as a product of like how items and placements work, it is as much a product of people being spiteful and wanting to hit you specifically because you were in first or something. And I have a sneaking suspicion as well that because I'm a streamer, people sometimes recognize me. There's a number of people in Mario Kart rooms who have at least seen one of my streams, so they know I'm a streamer that's likely live whenever I'm playing Mario Kart, so... A little bit of stream sniping. Yeah, hit the streamer. Very real thing. TWD98 deals with this in no small quantity. He's a way, way, way bigger live streamer and YouTuber and whatever. It was probably way worse for him, but you know. In fact, I think he's talked a couple times about how he has to use alts when he's not streaming, so people don't like either let him win or go for him specifically or do other things that would, like, negatively affect the racing experience. Rainbow Road, GBA. Now, I only recently learned, like, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, I'll probably save that for when I get quite a bit larger as a streamer. Oh boy. A script kid. Okay, I see who it is. It's that we wheel bunch of question marks person. In the back there. Whoa. You know what's funny? Because I guarantee the kinds of people who use scripts are not very good at Mario Kart to begin with. This guy isn't even good at using his scripts. You know? Like, this guy's not good at Mario Kart, which is probably what led them to cheat in the first place. But he's not even good at cheating. You know? One red shell in 7th. A bomb, you say? See. Yeah, they wouldn't have to use them if they were good at the game. That's true. I mean, some people will just use them because they want to ruin the experience for others. You know, there's a lot of antisocial tendencies that could fundamentally lead people to decide to cheat in a video game like Mario Kart or whatever, right? You know? But again, they're not even good at using their cheats. Oh, oops, got a low trick. That's one of the things I had to learn. I'm gonna start using this, I think. Oh no, I bounced. Oh, I got the scrub dodge, as Enmead calls it. Sixth? I'll take 6th that race. Also, it looks like that person got banned pretty quickly. Pretty cool. Very cool system. I'm sure people are reporting it in the Discord server. Let's see. Reporting. No, actually. They are not talking about it. Maybe they were just that quick with the ban. Or the guy only joined for one race and then left. That'd be kind of funny. Ah, yes, my favorite track. Nice. Why they do it makes no sense. Some people just like to do a little bit of trolling, or even, possibly, a moderate amount of trolling. See, like this guy, Hadrian88 there. You know, there's ways to do it without cheats. Some people prefer to troll with cheats so they get everybody. But the motivation that would cause somebody to, like, slow down with triple reds when there's absolutely no need to, and the motivation for somebody to install a script to just spam the shock over and over again, same thing. Nice, got the wall glitch. Oh, okay. No, I fucked up the sand hop on lap 3. Ah, he did a nice shortcut. I messed up majorly. Huh. All that, and then I got 4th afterwards, huh? Well, that's all right. So I want to go through here. Oh yeah, here, hold on. HP. You guys remember when Boeing just, like, had a whistleblower killed? You remember when that whole shtick happened? Here, hold on. Let me, There was a YouTube video in my news feed earlier that talked about it. I want to see if I can find it again, because that might have a link to an article that I could look at for stream, for the benefit of the live stream. Where is it? HP. No? Maybe not. Okay. And I don't remember where I heard about it. I swear it was from my newsfeed. But anyways. Here we go, from the Independent. Wall Street Journal demands I subscribe, which I will not. Thank you. NYC lawyer who died in yacht disaster. You know, of course, lawyer, yacht, etc., etc. Wrote haunting LinkedIn post weeks before. Is this the same thing I'm thinking of? Look, I think what had been happening was there was some sort of lawsuit going on with HP. HP, a tech company, not in the sense that, like, Twitter or Facebook is a tech company. Rather, they deal more in computer hardware and computer assembly and printers. You know, HP makes printers. They make they are a system assembler for computers, or system integrator, I guess, if you prefer. And they also had been getting into some legal trouble, I believe. And one of these legal battles actually culminated in somebody ending up dead. You know, kind of like the whistleblower case with Boeing. I'll get to more details in a sec, but that's like what I remember. We'll see how correct or not that is in a sec. Is it? Yeah, okay, there we go. New York City, this is what I'm thinking of. New York City lawyer who died after a yacht sank off the coast of Sicily wrote a haunting post on LinkedIn 2 months before he joined the doomed voyage. In one of his only posts on the site, Christopher Morvillo, 59 years old at the time, thanked his legal team after they helped British tech tycoon Mike Lynch win a fraud trial and discussed living happily ever after. Like, I'm very happy with my life. I've just accomplished something great. I'm living large. Is found dead a few days later after, you know, the lawsuit that they just won. 5 bodies were recovered from the incident. 1 person remains missing. Oh, it was a storm. Okay, might be. Okay. Formerly worked as a federal prosecutor. This might be a false alarm, but either way, it is extremely funny. Yeah, here we go. The found dead or found dead. It depends. That depends on like what the next material of this article has to say, because this was very soon after a fraud case against HP in which he won. He won that fraud case. And what I was prepared to say was that, like, if that ends up being the case, if it's likely that HP just, like, you know, had this guy killed, had him, like, disappeared or whatever, it's possible that, like, corporations just having you assassinated for pursuing lawsuits against them or whatever is just gonna be a thing now. You know? Because, like, why not? They're clearly not gonna get punished for it, right? I think even here's the thing, right? Even if this doesn't end up panning out in the sense that, like, maybe he was genuinely found dead instead of, like, found dead in air quotes, like, if this was all actually a coincidence and stuff, then I still think that, like, it's possible we start seeing more of this, because, like, there's no incentive really against companies engaging in this kind of behavior, if that makes sense, right? Like, everything operates as a matter of material incentives, and, like, what can we get away with versus what will we be substantially punished for. You know, this is why companies are so comfortable breaking human rights law and stuff, because to them that's just the cost of doing business. They'll get slapped with a fine and they're like, whatever, you know. Criminal prosecution is kind of a different matter. Though companies have been found guilty in some cases of, like, funding death squads, stuff like that. Funding death squads, you know, behavior they're known to engage in. So clearly there's a lot of leeway for companies to kill people in other countries, but there's not as much leeway to do so in like, developed countries. Why that's the case, I actually don't know, because companies get away with social murder all the time. You know, company policy and corporate, like, malfeasance leads to a lot of people dying all the time. You know, and they've done plenty of big boy crimes and gotten away with it. I'm open to the argument that, like, murder and assassinations, a whole different ballgame, but, you know, it seems like a lot of companies, after what Boeing did especially, would likely be more willing to dip their toe in the water there. Prior to his death, let's see, Morvillo and his legal team successfully defended Lynch from fraud allegations brought by Hewlett-Packard, stemming from the tycoon's sale of his autonomy company to HP for $11 billion in 2011. This verdict closes the book on a relentless 13-year effort to pin HP's well-documented ineptitude on Dr. Lynch. Thankfully, the truth has finally prevailed. We thank Dr. Lynch for his trust throughout this ordeal. Hope that he can now return home to England to resume his life and continue innovating. Morvillo and his co-counsel wrote in a press release after winning the case. The boat that they were on ran afoul of a small waterspout in the Mediterranean, likely capsized after its mast was broken by the storm, according to the head of Sicily's civil protection uh, agency. They would like to sincerely thank the Italian Coast Guard for their efforts. It seems like the recovery effort was quite an undertaking because it was pretty deep underwater, the boat and all that. Yeah, I don't think I think this is like false alarm, but the coincidence is extremely funny. You know? It's funny, like, conspiracy bait. Every now and again news articles will do something like this. They appeal to the, like, conspiracy bait kind of sensibilities. In the case of insert person here died shortly after having a dispute with XYZ company, it's like the incentives all line up perfectly. But here in this case, I think this was genuinely just like maybe like a happy accident for HP, because there was a storm in the Mediterranean off the coast of Sicily, and you know, yachts known to not be like fortresses and stuff like that. I think this death was genuinely just a product of severe weather. Yeah, they summoned the storm. They contracted Storm from the X-Men to create this storm to get him. Yeah. So false alarm. Everybody put your tinfoil hats down. It's just funny coincidence. But I will maintain that, like, I am kind of concerned about big companies being more comfortable in engaging in this kind of behavior in the future. Not necessarily because, like, it's going to happen en masse and whatever, but, like, rich people can control weather. That's my conspiracy theory now. Many such cases. Things have to be kind of unstable for like, a lot of the more openly violent forms of corruption and malfeasance to take effect. Like I said, a lot of the crimes that companies commit, or the sort of atrocities they commit, are on a social scale. They're abstracted to such a degree that it's hard to, like, sometimes it can be hard to, like, pin it on somebody specifically. So, not as big of a side eye as I initially suspected it might be, but I think this does warrant, like, the discussion to flare up again, be like, hey, if this does happen again, because certainly this reminded me of the Boeing stuff. If there is another company at some point that just decides, like, hey, what if we just had this whistleblower killed? Genuinely, what would the consequences be? Or would there be any consequences? I'm a common person. Can't I just summon a little thunderbolt on my X? True. We can have a little bit of controlling the weather as a treat. That race also, something worth noting, I was one of the people engaging in the practice of Mario Karting. That guy that just got blue shell and was just starting to get going again. I hit him with a red shell because I wanted to build a lead in first place. And you guys saw what that resulted in was me ultimately getting a lead substantial enough that I could, win the race outright. But I usually try not to Mario Kart somebody if I don't think it's really necessary. Like, if second and third place, if there's a really big pack close together, I don't think there's really a need to do that, because it's like you're getting blue, you're already falling 3 or 4 spots behind. There's not really a need to hit you even harder. Does that make sense? Whereas when a track is more spread out, like Bowser's Castle 64, it's a very real possibility that that guy could take over first again, just by virtue of how far ahead he had to be to get hit by the blue shell and for me to get him in that position. Just a little bit of that theory that I was talking about, the theory of Mario Kart, where like certain people are better or worse at reading social cues in the race, and that's part of what enables me to get such consistently good results, is that I have solid driving fundamentals. You maybe want to play Mario Kart now? It's a fun game, I don't blame you. See, like, for example, if the pack is this tight, and the one of these guys gets blue shelled, then, like, or let's say if that guy were even a little bit further up ahead, the guy that's in first right now, was a little bit further ahead and he got blue shelled, I would not combo him. I wouldn't feel the need to combo him, because it's like, well, this is a tight pack anyway, you know? No, I'm dead. And it's like, not only would I pass him, there'd probably be a couple other people that might pass him. Nice, got an item. That's a good item. And I got shocked out of having a good item. No! I got starred. Alright. There's still a lap and a half to go. I'm gonna not chain this. I'm gonna use it here. Oh yeah, that's a really good spot to use it. And I'm gonna try to save this mushroom probably for the shortcut as well at the end. See, like, you see how far that person is ahead up there, and comboing them would be necessary for anybody to get ground on them. What's up, Dio? God dang it. With my item. It doesn't matter that much because it's the very end of the race, but okay. -2. Maybe one more. Maybe we do one more. Famous last words, I know, but, you know. I guess if this is making news about a business person dying, then, like, must be kind of a slow news day. Let's see. Nice meme. Seems like there's not much political stuff on my Twitter feed either, not in the way of news anyways. I guess everybody's kind of cooling off from the DNC in a way. The past month has been pretty crazy, I'm not gonna lie. This is the most mock bike track of all, like, mock bike tracks. Okay. I know where I want to use this. It's like right after this turn. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right, Marvin. I recognize you have 2 rotating greens. Not trying to take over first. In fact, I'd prefer that you be there rather than me, so that you can take a blue shell. But I guess he recognizes that. What's wrong with you? I was going to throw that forward at first place. Damn. Pokemon Unite and then it's 3 a.m. suddenly? True. Many such cases. Kind of like me with Street Fighter Third Strike. Game's fucking hard as balls. Okay. Didn't get an item, but... Oh, no! Hits? Okay. That race all went downhill because people around me were incompetent at reading the social cues within the confines of the race. I was saving that bomb for first, and first was actually very good at reading the room, as it were, because they decided to throw the green shell back at me specifically, knowing that everybody else is stupid, and would focus more on the guy that just got green than the guy who's currently running away with first place. You know? And that's why he was able to build a lead that big. I was planning to take that bomb and do like a cheeky attempt at a bomb snipe and whatever. But because of that, everybody else got so much more distant from first place. Anywho. It's a little bit of a shorter stream today. I have plenty of things to say still, but I want to save those for future streams so I can have like... I can sort of approach it as its own thing, right? Like covering the earlier speeches at the DNC and then giving some of my thoughts on it, which you heard this stream, but want to give it in the context of having analyzed some other stuff as well. So let's see who all is live. Thank you for the stream. Learn stuff. Big hugs. Thank you for watching. Of course. Always happy to entertain, to be educational as well. Let's raid. I'm gonna raid. Fuck if I know. You know what? Nobody's even live that I really watch anyway, so I'm not gonna. Guess I won't raid anybody. I'll be back in a couple days. So, see ya.